everyone. We are here to give you a market update. We want to talk a little bit about coronavirus, what it's doing to our market, what we're seeing, but also social distancing. You need to get a little further away from me. But really, social distancing is influencing our real estate market, I think, more than we may have thought it would.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of on a macro level, if you will, we've been seeing that people are being drawn towards more rural areas. So, they're saying, hey, I'm going to pack up, I'm getting out of the city, out of the suburbs. I want to be away from people because, they probably have maybe a little bit of fear about the coronavirus. Maybe they want like a self-sustainable farm, whatever you want most. They're finding it out closer to the mountains. So that's what, again, we're seeing on the macro level. And then more on a micro scale for Sacramento, we're seeing that a lot of people are coming here from the Bay Area, and we had already seen that influx already. But on top of that, when you take such a densely populated area and a virus, obviously they're saying, hey, I can go to Sacramento, I can still maintain a good quality of life, and I can still be a little bit more separated from people.
Not to mention, they get a lot more land and a lot more house for a lot less cash over this way. So we are seeing it. And more we're being able to see the devastation in the areas or lack of devastation in other areas because we're getting more weeks into this whole thing. We've noticed over the last 3 weeks, pendings and listings have actually started to come back. They are not where they were, everybody, but they are coming back. We saw kind of that belly right the second week in March when we saw that dip. It was pretty significant, and it slowly started coming back up over the last 3 weeks. Now, it might be too early to confidently say 100% the market is on the uptick and returning back to normal, but it's definitely showing signs that it's surging, it's coming back, and our listings and our buyers, they're going insane right now.
It's busy. It's very busy.
Like we are, I swear, every day we look at each other and we're like, okay, every listing that's going on market is getting multiple offers. We were kind of under the impression that everything under 400 was working really well. We're getting high prices, over list contracts. But then last week, we put on a house that would be considered more of a luxury type or luxury price. Multiple offers in 72 hours, and we are pending over list price. So hallelujah for that seller, great news.
Yep.
And it's a buyer coming from the Bay Area. So again, we're seeing that pattern in real time here in Sacramento. Beyond that, let's chat a little bit about what we expect from the economy.
Yeah, so from, an economic level, there's a big comparison between, again, the macro and the micro. And so, I feel like everyone right now is trying to predict what nationally is going to go on. There's, talks of, forbearance and REOs and foreclosures and all this stuff. But again, that's as a country as a whole. When we start to narrow down to California and then from California down to Sacramento, again, we're getting a little bit more micro because each city is going to have their own characteristics and own lifeblood, if you will, to say, these businesses are prospering, the different dynamics of just, job and diversity. So I really feel like Sacramento in general is going to fare really well. Kind of touching on California as a whole, I think when we looked at the May of 2019, our unemployment rate was about 4%, and then
4.1.
Okay,
exactly.
4.1,
yeah, 4.1
and then
exactly.
now in May of 2020, with even all this coronavirus going around, it's 5.3. So again, less than 1.5% increase, especially with everything that's been going on, I think is honestly a really good.
Right, which if you watch the trend on unemployment, of course we see a surge in the last several weeks here, but it was also kind of a steady increase in that number over the last 12 months with the uptick recently, of course. And so the biggest thing that we're going to need to watch for is what's the aftermath. And that's what everybody's trying to predict. And what Chase was conveying here is the global scale aftermath, even the national level aftermath is going to be vastly different than our Sacramento, our Placer, and our El Dorado counties that are right here. And so that's something that I think buyers and sellers in our market are starting to realize and see that we may be in a position where we're favored a little bit, we're preserved a little bit. Now, obviously no one's going to know until this all is said and done. But what we're seeing locally is a lot of businesses are adapting. We're seeing this on a global level as well. But the businesses that are going to outlive this are the ones that adapt the fastest. And we're also seeing businesses that have been brick and mortar businesses predominantly, that now have whole e-commerce sectors of their business that are exploding. Which, how cool is that? These businesses are going to come back, and consumer behavior is going to tell us how quickly the brick and mortars, the malls, the retailers, those types of things are going to function. And there's also a lot of restrictions and regulations that vary county to county, state to state. But what consumer behavior is showing us is that obviously online and virtual is a demand. We see it in real estate, we see it in how we're now listing properties, how we're now showing and touring properties. But like I said, these local businesses that are adopting a virtual lifestyle, if you will, are seeing a surge in profits also.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be really critical for any business, especially with what's going on, is that adaptability to kind of pivot and say, okay, I'm not going to kind of be the victim of the circumstance. I'm going to change how we're operating to really cater to what the economy is demanding. And it's those businesses that are going to really thrive and prosper even during times of uncertainty.
Right, so this coronavirus, although it's bringing much devastation, of course, we don't want to dilute that. It's also bringing a lot of opportunity for growth in areas that at once weren't needed or weren't needed as quickly. So stay tuned. We will see how this goes, and we will keep you updated. We also have got something coming up a little bit later in the week in regard to the lending world and what coronavirus is doing to loans and borrowers. So great chatting with you, and happy buying and selling.